Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Tom Leonard. I, along with my brother Jim, back here over my shoulder, own Fury Motors, Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep in South St. Paul, and we own Fury Dodge Chrysler in Lake Elmo. In 2005, we purchased the Lake Elmo dealership, and like Steve, we paid a heavy, but we felt at the time, a fair price for both the blue sky and the land. We invested over $5 million in the dealership. And it was a small dealership, it was expensive, and we had high expenses out there. And for the first 2 years, we didn't make money out there. And then we turned the corner in 2007, and we started to really get our feet underneath ourselves. And in 2008, it got a little better. As the market was going down, we were getting better. In 2009, first 6 months, we were on pace for an all-time sales record at that store, and that store has existed for over 80 years. We had sold nearly 500 vehicles out there through the first 6 months. Our employee base, we had increased our employees by over 25% in 2009 alone, in an economy that is by far in my business career the most challenging, and some have said in the last 50 years. As Alyssa said, it is the worst sales year in 50 years, and we're setting an all-time sales record there. I think the employees, for sure, were feeling very good, comfortable. They were getting pay increases, and life was looking very good until April 30th, when bankruptcy was declared. And nine days later or 10 days later, we got a letter saying that we would not be moving forward with the Chrysler Corporation. This is in May, I think it was May 9th, and we were selling very strong. And in fact, in May, I'll go back to the South St. Paul dealership, we outsold the rest of the Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep dealerships in the state of Minnesota by more than 40%. There's 76 dealers at this point in the state of Minnesota that are Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep. And our little Lake Elmo store that was on the termination list ended up the 4th largest in the state of Minnesota. There's 2 dealerships in White Bear Lake, Chrysler, Jeep, and a Dodge. Our little Lake Elmo store outsold both of those combined in the month of May. Things are going very well. June 10th came along, and we lost our franchise out there in Lake Elmo. Since then, sales are off 50%. We've had to lay off 50% of our employees. But what we were left with was 100% of our mortgage. It's a dealership that in 2008 generated more than $3 million in state taxes through payroll taxes, real estate taxes, and sales tax generation. We were growing very well. Along with the 50% reduction in workforce, the other 50% of the people that have worked there, with the reduction in sales, have all taken a pay cut. So we're generating less sales tax revenue, we're generating less payroll tax revenue. Directly affects all of us. And why? Why would you close down a business that is generating as much as we did? I can't answer that question. It's, there was, if you look at the numbers, and the numbers Chrysler terminated, it was an odd number, but if you did the math of the 3,000 plus dealers, it was exactly 25%. Now, if there was a number that was going to be, the right number, it would be 20%, or it'd be 21.5, or it'd be 32.3. It wouldn't be exactly 25%. And that's what was reduced, 25%. The math worked out exactly that. The first rule in business I was taught from my father was you don't fire your sales staff. There was a reduction of Chrysler dealers across the country of 25%. In May of this year, Chrysler's market share was 9%. Of the total cars in the country sold, they were 9%. The latest numbers that I got through August were 6.8% market share. That number is exactly 25% reduction in market share, which is also the same exact number of Chrysler dealers that were eliminated. Our point, we sat, my brother and I and a whole bunch of the other dealers, we sat in the testimony in Washington, D.C. at the Senate hearings, and we listened to the manufacturers try to justify why they were cutting the dealers. They had all the stats, all the facts and figures, and they weren't able to come up with $1 of cost savings to the manufacturers that the dealers represented to them. The dealers don't represent a cost to the manufacturers. Those signs that they came out to our dealerships and destroyed, we pay for those. I pay $500 a month at each dealership for that sign. We advertise. It's a partnership, but we pay for that sign. We pay for our access to the computer system. We pay for things I don't even hardly, I can't see all the things that we pay. It's, you got to go through the receivable book or the payable book pretty closely to see all what we pay, and we do pay. We don't represent a cost to the manufacturer. Why we're eliminated, I don't know. We're a pretty strong dealership, and my brother and I were hitting the peak of our careers. Why would they eliminate a dealership that's doing that? It makes no sense. When I got to look our employees that we've laid off in the face and say, hey, I really like you, but now our sales are off 50%. We can't afford to keep you anymore. Those are tough days, and they're not fun days. And why, as Steve feels, we've all funded this as our tax. These people go on to the state of Minnesota's tax rolls in unemployment. What happened here wasn't right, and I don't know who the decision maker was. As we've talked about many times, my brother and I, we don't know who we're fighting. And we didn't have a day in court. We had 27 days to ramp our business down at Lake Elmo to get our cost structure that we had spent 4 years getting everything ramped up. In 27 days, we had to ramp it down. Well, post-June, we're no longer a profitable dealership out there. We've lost money every month. We'll figure it out. And because we got to keep 100% of our mortgage, we don't have the option of not continuing business out there. We will figure it out, but we're going to do it with a much less cost structure, with fewer employees. And it'll be a burden, but we will get there. But it'll be less. One of the things that Chrysler did is they took our customer base of 8,000 names out at Lake Elmo, and they redistributed them to the other dealers. Now these are numbers that we paid $1.5 million in blue sky for this customer base. Well, they sent out letters to our customers of the names and addresses that we provided them, and why we have to provide them is just for warranty information, and it's not that they pay us for the names and addresses for their mailing list. And they redistributed them to the other dealers. They didn't send them to our South St. Paul dealership 15 miles away. And they said that we closed and we were no longer open for business. Harmful, vicious. It was bad. That's our story. And it's a terrible story. A growing, thriving business gets chopped off at the knees. We have hopes that something will come out of Washington that will have positive effect. But until then, we got to figure out our business and operate today so we can still be here tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard.